Hey, so if you're stuck in the cycle of compulsively using pornography, yes, you want to break the habit and minimize those external triggers and get better at staying self-disciplined when faced with them. But you will typically also be presented with a lot of internal triggers. And that's why when you're trying to quit pornography, you can't just focus on breaking the habit. You also have to change your lifestyle as well, because it's very, very common for most guys to discover that they're using porn to actually deal with emotional states or lifestyle triggers in a dysfunctional way. They're using porn as a dysfunctional coping mechanism. And in today's video, I want to give you a tool for quickly diagnosing which of those lifestyle factors are creating internal triggers in your life. And then that should give you some simple ideas for how you can change your life and transform your lifestyle or design your lifestyle to actually make it far easier to stay away from pornography, rely much less on willpower, and really trim down so that you only have to use willpower and impulse control and self mastery to control your real libido and some of those unavoidable external triggers. And if we haven't met before, my name is Jack Jenkins. I'm the founder, CEO, and head coach at Remojo. And I've helped over 600,000 guys to quit porn for good through our app-based programs and now through our course community and coaching program on School. I've been featured in the global press as a thought leader on this issue, and I've also been free from all dysfunctional coping mechanisms, porn, gambling, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, etc. for 4+ years now. Anyway, let's get into the topic of the video. So the tool that we give the Remojo program members to actually help diagnose those internal trigger states and figure out resolutions and smarter responses is an acronym called HALT-FNBS. And what that stands for is hunger, anger, loneliness, tiredness, fantasy, boredom, and stress. And you would be surprised how many of your porn sessions are actually driven by these internal trigger states versus your real libido and external triggers. And because these triggers drive so many porn sessions, slips, setbacks, relapses, whatever, they really make it almost essential for most guys that want to quit pornography permanently to actually change their lifestyle as well as just break the core habit. You have to do both in parallel. So what you'll find is that a high quality life will naturally starve out most of these triggers, and you will be left with much, much less need for willpower, self-control, self-mastery, etc. if you can get these things handled. So without further ado, let's get into each of those lifestyle factors and expound on exactly why these things do trigger porn sessions and why you need to resolve them if you want to be free and at ease for good. So first of all, hunger. So you have to get your nutrition right. And the reason for that is that a bad diet will tend to create unstable glucose levels. So you'll have high blood sugar and then low blood sugar crashes, which produce low energy states, tiredness, and then impulsivity. So impulsive eating and then impulsivity in general as a result. And falling into those kind of hangry states can also leave you just reaching for something to solve the problem of whatever that discomfort is. And sometimes, probably not often with pornography, but sometimes that reaching, that craving state to just fix that internal discomfort, that uncomfortable emotion or physical sensation can lead to reaching for compulsive coping mechanisms like porn or cigarettes or junk food or whatever. And so you need to obviously eat whole foods and stay hydrated, stay healthy to have stable blood sugar levels, avoid crashes, fuel that energy hungry prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive function and control, and avoid falling into other distractions, which may then end up leading to porn. So you might be hungry or hangry, and then you start scrolling, and then that scrolling on social media leads to pornography. And so it might be a very subtle and insidious trigger for you. But anyway, you need to get diet right. Then the next factor in the HALT-FNBS acronym is anger. And you may find yourself using pornography or other addictive or compulsive coping mechanisms to resolve frustration, rage, and feelings of anger. And this is where you need to improve both your performance in work and life and also your relationships. These are the two main drivers of frustration and anger. And so by improving your focus, concentration, discipline, and productivity, you'll naturally achieve your goals and be less frustrated and more resilient. And then also by quitting pornography and improving your lifestyle in other ways, and also just reaching out and connecting with people more, spending more time around people, building community, getting more engaged socially, etc., improving your social skills, you'll find that as your social skills and relationships improve, you'll have fewer arguments, fewer disagreements, fewer conflicts, etc. in life. And so that will naturally reduce the level of anger and frustration in your life, which can be a trigger for behaviors that we want to avoid. Following on from this is L for loneliness. And this is where, you need to build or ensure that you have a high level of social confidence and get yourself out there. Most people are not spending anywhere near enough time around people these days. If you're working from home, if you're freelance, self-employed, an entrepreneur, crypto trader, whatever you're doing, if you're at home working alone most of the time, and then you don't have a very active life around that, you're spending very little time potentially around people. And that loneliness can create an internal discomfort to connect, or just a sense that something's wrong and that you need some kind of stimulation. And porn can be a cheap substitute for connection, intimacy, real sex, it's excitement, stimulation, etc. And so you can end up just reaching out for that to fill the gap essentially. So this is why you need to go out and get engaged with communities, build community in your life. If you can't find groups around your passions, then you need to be the one who starts them. And then you also benefit from being the owner of that group and having the status that comes with that when everyone depends on you for that group and they get value from what you've created. You will find that that naturally puts you in a leadership position or even a kind of alpha male position because everyone depends upon you to organize that thing and everyone enjoys the benefits of what you've created. And so that naturally can put you in an alpha male position when you own the group, you own the community, you own the company or whatever. It can give you that status, and that will fill you with a sense of self-confidence and self-esteem as well. The fourth factor in the HALT-FNBS acronym is T for tiredness. And I think this is obvious. When you're tired, you're more impulsive, less proactive, things go off track, things go off plan, you don't fulfill your commitments, etc. Even if you don't go directly to pornography, you can just find yourself on things that lead to pornography, scrolling social media aimlessly, then you're exposed to triggers, etc. And so it goes on, or just lying around in bed with the phone, with a laptop. This is why improving your lifestyle in terms of sleep discipline and sleep hygiene, routine adherence, and scheduling is going to help you starve the porn habit of triggers aside from your real libido. And so if you think this might be a factor for you, then things that you can work on are fixing your sleep schedule, making sure that you've got solid wind down routines that are proactively set and planned so that you don't fall into mindless behavior, impulsive behavior, or reactive sort of zombie mode. And then also getting that area of your life in check so that you don't wake up tired and therefore, reactive, sluggish, lethargic, etc. in the morning, which it's never been a problem for me, but for some people, they find themselves often sort of slipping up in the morning, first thing, and then, watching porn first thing in the morning. Day's done. The day's over at that point. So the next sort of lifestyle factor or internal trigger in this acronym is F for fantasy. This one's a bit different, right? So the HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, they're common triggers for every addiction. But with porn, fantasy is a self-generated trigger that trips up a lot of guys. And a lot of our members don't realize how they've really built the habit of fantasizing into their lives and how they're really feasting on it. And it's actually become a kind of micro compulsion or micro addiction that then drives porn sessions, obviously, on a very regular basis. And, you can engineer this out of your life through upgrading the quality of your mental and reflective and spiritual practices. So we're talking prayer, meditation, journaling, and learning to reframe things and adjust and find perspective on life, as well as your ability to simply let go of temptations, urges, or ideas that come. And that's something that you will really get from a solid meditation and mindfulness practice, which is something that we encourage everyone on the Remojo program to develop. Next up, we have BS, boredom and stress. We'll start off with boredom. You might find that a lack of vision or purpose that inspires you, or a lack of meaningful engagement, creates boredom, and that boredom makes you just reach for stimulation. And of course, one of the most stimulating things available is pornography. And the way that you resolve boredom is by having inspiring goals that you really actually want to achieve, not things that you feel like you should achieve, things that you really actually want to achieve and that get you out of bed in the morning, that you're excited about, passionate about, align with your values, align with the vision for your life. And then also having real fun, high quality hobbies, high quality entertainment, culture, something that is missing in perhaps a lot of people's lives these days is really high quality culture. I'm talking about, reading Nobel Prize winning literature, going to the opera, going to the theater. These are all things that I did in my early 20s. I'm not so sure how many guys in their early 20s are doing these kind of things now, given that everyone's so addicted to things like TikTok and has a attention span of between sort of 5 and 20 seconds. But meaningful engagement, things that you really enjoy, real fun, not pornography, real fun, real passions, pursuits, and engaging goals and work will help you starve boredom as an internal trigger for porn and make things easier to manage as well. Last up, we have S for stress, and this is a really common one. So a lot of guys are using porn as a dysfunctional cope for stress, especially since using porn and releases so many relaxing neurochemicals. It can become a very compulsive habit to deal with either anxiety, which is a kind of generalized stress that's not connected to anything in particular, or to avoid stress, which is anxiety about a specific thing. It's really a signal, a trigger to actually take action and solve a problem. But guys end up procrastinating on solving their problem and instead only deepening their problems by using porn to cover over stress. And so you have to figure out what the sources of stress are in your life and any sources of anxiety as well, which is irrational stress. And again, resolve those through lifestyle transformation and also identity transformation. You want to become the kind of guy who deals with stress not by procrastinating and coping, but by actually doing what needs to be done, thinking what's important now and actually doing that. And then also improving your health and energy and testosterone and security in life so that you have a lower level of baseline anxiety. So that means, getting your sex and love life handled so that you don't have that existential anxiety, getting your financial life handled so you don't have that safety and stability factor, creating anxiety in your life where you don't have any kind of financial security or abundance. You need to get that handled. And that will starve that final factor in the HALT-FNBS acronym, which may be driving your porn habits. So the bottom line is, if you want to break this habit and actually stay free from it in the long run, lifestyle transformation and an improved quality of life with new habits, new routines, new pursuits and engagements, better diet, more exercise, better sleep, etc. They're all key parts of the transformation. Of course, you're going to want to improve in all of these areas anyway, so why not use the process of quitting pornography to do that? Certainly makes sense to me to just put it all together as part of a programmatic effort. And so we encourage everyone on the Remojo program to do that. But my call to action for you today is to think about that acronym, HALT-FNBS: hunger, anger, loneliness, tiredness, fantasy, boredom, and stress. And think about which 1 to 3 of those factors are potentially driving the majority of your porn sessions that are not triggered by just sexual imagery on the internet or by your real libido. And think about how you can start to starve them of fuel and engineer them out of your life through lifestyle changes. And just prioritize one thing that you can start either acting on or even resolve today if you can, so that ultimately you start creating a life that you don't have to cope with, but that you just enjoy, and reduce the need for willpower and reduce the need for self-mastery, and spend that self-discipline, spend your willpower points on goals that move your life forward instead of just resisting self-sabotaging behaviors. Now, if you're ready for more help with that, I suggest that you check out the links below. We've got our school program, which is course, community, and coaching. We've also got a free discovery call for guys that are interested in hardcore accountability, coaching with me or one of my team, or joining our program. And you can also book single sessions with me for the time being while I'm still making those available. So I hope that helps. Do take some action on that. And hopefully I will see you on either our program or a call sometime soon. Anyway, have a good day. Cheers.